Hello, and welcome to Nourished Stories from the Table. I'm Mel, your foodie godmother with over 15 years of kitchen wisdom. My love language is cooking and feeding people, and I truly believe that there's something magical about sitting around a table, passing platters of delicious food, cutlery clinking on plates, and wine glasses being filled. The dining table is where families gather, strangers become friends, recipes are shared, and stories we've never told before somehow find their way into the conversation. That's exactly what this podcast is about. Each week, I'll be sitting down with someone new to talk about food, travel, family, life, and everything in between. Is it a podcast about food and cooking? Well, yes, but it is so much more than that. It's about the people, the places, and the magic that happens in between. So, let's go cooking. Today's guest believes you don't have to choose between enjoying incredible food and living a healthy life. For Tess, food has always been about so much more than what's on the plate. Growing up, her mum cooked fresh meals every day, teaching her that food is about nourishment, connection, and bringing people together. Living with hypoglycemia and a family history of diabetes has shaped the way Tess approaches food. Not with restriction, but with balance. She believes you can embrace local cultures, savour unforgettable meals, and still prioritise your health. With a master's degree in clinical nutrition from New York University and more than 13 years of coaching experience and a passion for travel and helping people build sustainable habits, Tess is changing the way people think about healthy living, one realistic step at a time. So, pull up a chair and meet Tess. Welcome so much, Tess. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Mel, for having me.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. So, where in the world are you today?
I'm in Miami Beach in Florida, and we are having a lovely summer. Some people might find it a bit too hot, but I love it. I went swimming a couple of days ago because I've got the beach right outside.
That sounds amazing. I'm in the southern hemisphere, so we're in the middle of winter, and I'm recovering from a cold. So I'm very jealous.
Yeah, you have to come up here instead.
Yeah, absolutely. I would love to. So I had a look at your beautiful website, and can you tell me a little bit briefly about your health coaching and how that started?
Yeah, sure. I'm a health and wellness coach, and I've switched into coaching from being a nutritionist a few years ago, but I was practicing as a nutritionist on the West Coast after getting my master's in clinical nutrition. But it all started because of family history of diabetes. So I started doing some research, and I really wanted to switch careers to actually help people to improve their health. So now I work with individuals who need some support and guidance to actually make some changes with their habits. So that could include eating choices, sleep, um, exercise, stress management, all those things, because they actually work together. So it's really important to have them all in place. And very often people find that the schedules are just so busy, they just don't know where to start. And with all the information out there on the internet, it can get very confusing.
There, it seems like there's an overload of information out there and a lot of misinformation,
Yeah.
especially in social media.
Yeah, absolutely. And I get the impression that people just want to put out some outrageous messages out there, knowing that they're not true and they just sound completely ridiculous, but they want to do that to get the attention. And then I hear all these crazy diets, how to lose weight, if you stop eating this or if you just eat that, you lose weight. It doesn't work that easily.
Yeah,
It's not
absolutely.
that simple.
Yeah, I mean, fad diets have been around for decades and decades, haven't they? I mean, I remember back in the 80s there was, my mum and probably a lot of her friends were all on these crazy diets. So they've been around for a long time, and it's good that we've got more information out there now from people like yourself.
Yeah.
to guide us how to eat right, and eating well and eating healthy is the same thing.
And very often, I think it's more difficult really when people are actually dining out or traveling, when they're on the road, when they're not home. Because when you're home, it's more under control. You can have certain food items that are relatively
Absolutely.
healthy. But when you're out, you have all the temptations, you're looking at the menu. And especially if you're traveling, when you are in a foreign country, it's hard. You want to try the local cuisine. And that's what, traveling is about. But then at the same time, you want to stay healthy too.
I love I love that about traveling, is trying all the new food and all the new cuisines and go to those local little restaurants. But I find, especially in a lot of places here in South America and even in Europe, there's a lot of, yes, there's a lot of bad food out there, but if you're eating the traditional food of that country, it's generally quite good for you and in
Yeah.
moderation, right?
Yes, yes, it is. But it just depends on the individual. Some people have to watch their sugar intake or their carbs
Yes,
intake. And then if some people have a family history of cardiovascular disease, then they have to be more mindful about the fat
correct,
content and the type of fat.
correct.
So you really have to work with what you have, and then watch out.
So, you obviously love to cook, and being a nutritionist, you love to cook beautiful food that's nutritious for yourself. What would you say would be one of your go-to dishes that's
Uh-huh.
quick, that someone could make easily, that's packed full of goodness?
Yeah, I would say when I'm home, I tend to have a high protein, high fiber diet and
Mm-hmm.
relatively low on starchy carbs. So my favorite dish, one of my favorite dishes, would be something like baked wild salmon with some
Beautiful.
steamed vegetables, and you can have some. You can make a dressing, to go with it. And if you like it
Mm,
spicy, you can add some cayenne pepper, lemon juice, olive oil, some crushed garlic, and then there's some fresh
mm,
herbs. So, you can make it all very tasty, but at the same time, it's healthy and it's pretty quick. You can steam some broccoli. I love cruciferous vegetables, so they include broccoli, Brussels sprouts,
yes.
cauliflower, bok choy. All those vegetables are really good for you. I try to limit on starchy carbs because of, again, I'm mindful about the carbs intake, especially because of my family history. And I find that a lot of starchy vegetables also very filling. So when you eat
Yes.
them, then you have less room for other things like protein.
Mm,
And these days, research shows that a lot of people are not actually getting enough protein intake.
yes.
And there's only so much room you have, every time you have a meal. So if you eat more of something, then you eat less of something else. So it's really a balance. But at the same time, you have to find out, what you really enjoy when you're home, because I want you to have fun too. It should be
Yes.
pleasurable.
It should. It should. It's actually one of my questions. Do you think we've been taught that healthy eating and enjoying food are opposites?
Yes, a lot of people say that. They say, "Oh, everything
Mm,
I like to eat is not good for me." So, and everything that's been suggested that's healthy, I just don't like it. But I think a lot of it is also the mindset,
mm,
and also the taste buds. They take time to change. And so, if you're trying to cut down on sugar, don't do it all in one go because it's a
no.
bit dramatic, but do it, incrementally, and then gradually you will find that some what you used to have might just be too sweet for you. And so, healthy food can be delicious. As I said, that you can have a healthy way of cooking it with fresh herbs. You don't have to cover them with sauces, heavy sauces.
Correct.
And you can just use fresh produce, fresh herbs and spices, to actually make things more tasty. And when you start eating something without all the sauces, you start tasting it. Believe me, fresh broccoli has its own taste, and I find it
Absolutely.
delicious.
I actually like parboiling it and then baking it.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
actually brings out a completely different flavor altogether. Brings out
Yes,
like
yes,
a
and
nuttiness. So yeah,
yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I love sesame seeds. I don't know, maybe it's from my Chinese background.
I
So
know
I
I
like to
love
sprinkle,
sprinkling. Yes.
yeah, over the vegetables. But I also like pumpkin seeds, pine nuts.
Mm,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah, that sounds incredible. I've actually been getting into a lot of been in sort of South America, making a chimichurri sauce, which is
Yeah.
parsley and
Yes.
some vinegar and oil and a bit of garlic and a bit of chili seeds, and putting that on
Yeah.
top of vegetables or on top of some
Oh, yeah.
meat. That just changes the whole profile, and it's really good for you as well. Like it's yeah,
Exactly. And it's all
incredible.
natural. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
you don't need those heavy like creamy sauces. Absolutely, like I make an incredible mushroom
Yeah.
creamy sauce with a steak, but it doesn't always have to be that way. So I think, would you agree that moderation and having those things is okay on occasion? It's not like
Yes,
you're going to eat it
absolutely.
5 times a
Yeah.
week.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And it's the same when you're dining out too, that's a way of looking at the menu and picking, picking the dishes that are relatively healthy, than actually,
yes.
having something else. Because, it's all about, what you choose, and the choices are yours.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all choice, right? And we have so much
Yeah.
choice. We've never
Yeah.
had more choice ever. And that's
Yeah.
that's, a good thing, and it's also a bad thing because we've got so many sort of not I don't want to say bad choices, but choices that we should probably avoid, right?
Yeah, exactly. But this is really, I think, as I said, I work with people on sleep, stress management, exercise. I'm not a personal trainer, but I do try to encourage people to move more, to actually, go to the gym or find an activity outside that they can enjoy doing with their friends or family. But eating is really important because we have to eat.
Yes.
So it's not something we can just ignore and say, "Oh, I'm going to make some bad choices, so let me just forget about it." No, you can't.
Yeah.
We need nutrition
Yeah.
to survive. And most of us, would eat 3 times a day. So every time you eat, you are either nourishing yourself or you're actually doing some harm to yourself. So so
Yes.
it's always an opportunity, for you to actually put some nourishment inside. So it's really important to make those choices wisely.
Yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree. Okay, so we've reached to the part of the podcast where I ask you some foodie questions. So the
Yeah.
first thing that comes into your head.
Okay. Funny enough,
Okay.
before we go on to that, people think, oh, if you're a wellness coach, a nutritionist, then you're not interested in eating. That's not true at all. I love food.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
how could you can't be a nutritionist and into wellness if you don't love food.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I can't ever grasp the concept of not liking food and eating. That's that's a
Yeah.
big part. I mean, it's as you said, everyone has to eat for
Yes. And it's so
life.
enjoyable. It's very social.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. There's nothing better than bringing some friends around and some beautiful food, and yeah, that's one of life's biggest joys, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
So I'm looking forward to those
So who would
questions.
good, good. Here they come.
Okay.
Who would you say has been your biggest influence in your love of cooking and creating food?
I would say my mother, even though I moved away when I was very young to go to boarding school, but when I was growing up, she was a very good cook. And she loved cooking for us, for my sisters and myself. And grew up in Hong Kong, it was unique because she would go to the food market every day and get something fresh, and she would ask us, what do you feel like having for dinner tonight? I go to the market and get something for you. So she really was very loving that way, and we were spoiled because it was like having your own private chef at home. And so I grew up
Wow.
being that way, and so I really care about what I eat at home, and to me, and I like freshly prepared food. I wouldn't just buy something and stick it in the microwave. So when I'm home, fortunately, I work from home, so I have a lot of time. But even I would say I cook for most of my meals. Sometimes I might have a protein shake if I'm in a rush or something. And I think that habit was actually built from my young age when I was growing up. And so she really instilled some very good healthy habits in us.
Wow, that's beautiful. That's I found in a lot of cultures, you were mentioning how your mum would go to the market, and a lot of cultures they go to the market every day
Yeah,
to see
yeah,
what's fresh and
yes,
cook it that day, right?
yes, definitely.
So
Yeah.
like in Western culture, we cook, we go shopping, grocery shopping for the week or the 2 weeks, and we sort of do it that way. But there's a lot of cultures that they'll shop on that day and eat what's fresh on that day, which I think is
Mm-hmm.
really incredible.
Yeah, definitely. She was a full-time housewife, so she had the time, but that was her
Yeah,
way of
you've got to have
showing
the
her love
time.
for us. Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
yeah. Everyone's very busy now, and I'm sure that's not feasible for everybody. But I think it's a beautiful way to live if you can.
Yes, definitely. Yes.
Absolutely. So if you could go anywhere in the world, because I know you love travel, if you could go anywhere in the world right now for dinner, what would be your go-to place?
Oh, that's hard. If I could only make one choice, I think I would go somewhere in France. Because I
Oh,
do
right.
enjoy duck very much, and usually they will have a duck dish that's absolutely delicious. And then I would probably have some dessert as well, because French pastry, French desserts, they're just
Yes.
special.
Yes. And that's a treat, right?
Yeah, very much
Dessert's a
so.
treat.
Yes, they are,
Absolutely.
because at home I don't have anything like that at all.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and I keep, referencing back to how we are in the world today. But it seems like sweets and desserts are now an everyday thing where, they really are a treat is a once in
Yeah.
a little while,
Yes. Yeah, yeah. When you're out or something, really, when it comes to eating, balance is so important. So you just have to
Absolutely.
look, if I'm going to go to a restaurant tomorrow and I know I'm going to go crazy, so perhaps today I'll be good. And just to balance it
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mentioned a lot in my podcasts when I went to Italy last year, and one of my favorite things that I did in Italy was go and have gelato.
Yeah.
Probably every day. I was there for 2 weeks, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That was my holiday treat.
Yes.
I may have mentioned to myself and my friends that calories don't count on holidays, but anyway, I was much more controlled when I got home, so it was okay.
All right, good. Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. You have to try those wonderful things when you are traveling.
So you mentioned France. Whereabouts in France is this duck dish? Southern part of France or
Um,
Paris, perhaps?
Well, I've had duck in some several places, but in Paris, then a lot of restaurants will be serving duck. It's absolutely delicious. It's just,
Yeah,
I think Chinese people eat a lot of duck as well, but in
yes,
Florida, for some reason, it's not so easy to find. So whenever I
no,
go somewhere, and it's not something I cook at home, it's just too complicated.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
I wait till I'm going, when I go out, if I find it on the menu, then that's really my treat.
Beautiful. I've never cooked duck myself, and I'm kind of scared to because it takes a certain art to cook it
Yes.
well, and it's got to be,
Yeah.
it either goes well or it doesn't. And yeah, I'm not willing to take that risk. I'll leave it to the experts.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Because either it can be too tough, or it's not cooked enough, and a bit, or it just ends up being too chewy or something like that.
I do love the Chinese the duck pancakes with
Oh
the plum
yeah, the
sauce
Peking
and the
duck.
shallot. Oh,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
beautiful.
Yeah, that's
I could eat a
delicious.
few. I could eat a few of those pancakes. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, here's a good one, and I'd be interested to see what your answer is.
Mm.
Paint me the perfect picture, or paint me a picture of the perfect dinner party. Who's there? What are you cooking?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I would say I would have probably be about six people over, because that's, more manageable. And my favorite meal would be something like a roast dinner, which people do a lot in England. It's probably because of all those years that I was living there.
Right.
And I've done that a few times here, and one time for Thanksgiving dinner, actually. I would get those organic Cornish game hens, and each of them is between 1 and 2 pounds. So you can serve each person with one of them, and it's quite nice. So the presentation is lovely, and to go with it, I would make a sauce with probably white wine and some herbs and garlic, and so people can have it with the chicken, and that would be roasted with cloves of garlic inside. And then the side dishes would be, and this is something that I haven't done for a while, roast potatoes in duck fat.
Oh yeah.
People do that a lot in England. So it's crispy
Yes.
outside and fluffy inside, and those potatoes are absolutely delicious if they come out right. And then maybe some Brussels sprouts, and parsnips. So I would roast those as well. And then perhaps a salad to go with that. And I think, that would be the meal. And then dessert, I would have to say, because I don't bake, I would have to get it from somewhere, maybe depending on the time of the year. I actually did manage to find some really good key lime pie, or a pumpkin cheesecake, and I would serve that as dessert. And then if people don't object, then I would serve the meal with some red wine.
That sounds like a beautiful meal. I love a roast. In Aus-
Yeah.
in Australia, roast dinners are quite popular as well on a Sunday. So yeah,
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
sounds beautiful.
Yes, that's more wintry though. I mean, for
Yeah.
this time of the year, it'd be too hot to have that.
Yes. Well, we in the southern hemisphere, as you probably know, our Christmas time is in summer.
Yeah.
So for at Christmas, some people do a full roast lunch on Christmas Day in the middle of summer,
Yeah.
which is absolutely crazy. But most of us just barbecue. We
Yeah.
have a barbie and head to the beach. But yeah, wintertime, absolutely for a roast dinner party. That sounds beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you are in the kitchen, are you listening to music? Are you listening to a podcast, or are you just in the zone? What's happening in the kitchen when?
Probably either. I probably have some, definitely have some music playing in the background, something like jazz, maybe some light dance music, or
Yes,
sometimes I would listen to a podcast, if I have to catch up with something, on something I want to listen to, and it's a really good way to actually do both, but at the same time you won't get distracted, because it's kind of therapeutic as well.
perfect. And do you cook? Are you like a prep your meals for the week kind of person, or do you? Because I know a lot of people in the sort of fitness and wellness like to prepare their meals for the week in containers and just take them out, or are you someone that likes to cook every day?
I mainly cook every day because I have the time and I work from home, mostly. But as you were saying, how busy, people have very busy lives, so it's difficult for them to cook freshly fresh for every meal. I understand. But then
Hmm.
what would I suggest to those people is actually batch cook those certain items. For example, if they want to have quinoa with the salad, then you can cook quinoa at the at say on a Sunday. So you can always have those. You can either heat it up or put it in your salad.
Perfect.
And fish doesn't take too long to cook, but maybe chicken does. And then you can, if you don't mind having something that's pre-cooked, you can always bake the chicken breast beforehand, and then add it to your vegetables or your salad, or something like that. So it really depends on what you're having. But for me, I tend to cook my meal as I go along because I never know what I might feel like having. And most of the dishes I have are very simple, because at home I live on my own, so it's easy. And because of the way I eat at home, it's just protein and vegetables or salad.
Okay, here's a good one. What would be your most favorite or most used utensil or piece of equipment in the kitchen?
All right. I see. I would say a wooden spatula. Yeah. So that's what I use to do my vegetables, or the chicken, if I'm stir frying, or shrimps, and I do have eggs, from time to time, so I use the spatula as well for that. So I would say, yeah, a wooden spatula. So,
A wooden spatula, yes. Not quite a while ago, I got rid of all my plastic utensils in the kitchen, and I use either metal or wood.
yes.
Um, and I only cook. I don't cook on any non-stick
Mm,
pans or anything. I use either stainless steel or
ceramic.
cast iron. No, I haven't. I don't. I
Yeah.
haven't used ceramic.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah.
that good to cook on?
Yeah. I think I meant cast iron. Yeah,
Cast
that's
iron.
what I
Oh, okay,
was
great.
talking about. Yeah, but it's heavy.
It is heavy, and you need to look after it. I've
Yes,
one of my rules in my kitchen is that you don't use soap to clean the cast iron pan because it's
I
so
see.
porous. The soap can
I
get in,
see.
and then you just need to dry it and oil it
Yeah.
after it's dry. And one of the great things that you probably already know about cast iron is that you actually absorb some of the iron from the
Yes.
pan into your body
Mm-hmm.
when you use it. So it's really,
Yeah.
I mean, it's been used for hundreds and hundreds of years, cast iron.
Yeah.
It's great, and it will, if you look after it, it will last
Mm-hmm.
you a lifetime and beyond.
Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's your favorite equipment in the kitchen?
That would be my Vitrinox tomato knife. So it's just a
Right. Okay.
little, the little serrated knife.
Yes.
I
Mm-hmm.
I have about five or six of them in my drawer,
Mm-hmm.
and I use it every day, like cutting up onions or slicing some tomato. They really are my go-to knife. I've got lots of knives in my
Yes.
arsenal, but it's the one I use day in and day out. And
Yeah.
yeah, they're not expensive too. So if you wanted to sort of start
Mm-hmm.
start buying things for your kitchen, that's a really good place to start because they're around $10. You can buy them online.
Oh, right.
Yeah, really handy. And they
Yeah.
can go in the dishwasher. My other knives I don't like in the dishwasher, but those
Yeah.
ones can go in the dishwasher. They're only small, really
Huh?
great.
All
Yeah,
right. Okay. I check those out.
yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
You'll buy one and you'll think of
Yeah.
me.
I will.
Yes. Now, this one it's a little bit morbid, but it's a question that gets asked a lot. What would be your last meal?
I've been asked that before, actually, so I know what the
Okay,
answer is.
perfect.
It would be a pasta dish,
Okay.
and it would have duck ragu. So really
Ooh,
rich sauce. So duck ragu is usually made with red wine, I believe. I've only ever have it. I've only ever had it in an Italian restaurant. So that would be
beautiful.
my indulgence, and that would be my last meal because it's just so delicious, and I haven't had enough of it.
It sounds amazing. A lot of people I ask this question to, it's generally a dish that's like a warm hug, like
Mm,
a like it's just nourishing the soul and the body. So that sounds like one
yes,
of those dishes, absolutely.
yeah, it is. Yeah.
Could you fit in some dessert possibly?
Oh, yes, absolutely. It would probably something. Um, Chocolate mousse is not normally my favorite, but I did have it in London last summer at this restaurant. It was actually more like a souffle. So it was a chocolate souffle, but it came with a whiskey sauce. And because the whiskey, it took, somehow it went really well. So the dessert actually wasn't that sweet. It was delicious. I've been thinking about it all the time.
I love those dishes you can't stop thinking about.
Yeah,
It'll
yeah. Yeah, and I love chocolate, so there you go.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, me too. I'm. That's probably my vice is chocolate. Unfortunately, we've always got it in the house, so that's a dangerous thing.
Yeah.
That's a really good last meal. I love that. Okay, so what is something that you've learned from either like cooking, being in the kitchen, or even in nutrition and wellness, like a
Mm-hmm.
lesson that
Yes.
you've taken into everyday life?
Um, I just think preparation is key. Uh, Pre-planning, knowing ahead, what you're going to be confronted with. I think that's really important. And so you're not making last minute decision out of panic or desperation. And it really it's important when it comes to eating, and I think that's why people have to look at say a week ahead or their schedule and say, oh, I'm going to be at the conference, or I'm going to be on the road, I'm going to be at the airport, or let me check my fridge. Do I have anything going on in there? What do I have to do? Rather than at the last minute when you're hungry, you are complete, you've lost control because now you just want something to eat. And so I think preparation, and that applies to other areas of our lives, and the same with exercise. You look at your schedule and see when you can fit those moments in, where when you can have half an hour, you can go out for a walk or do something, rather than wait till the last minute and at the end of a long day and think, oh, that's it. I don't have time now. So what do
Yeah.
I do? And it's the same with sleep too. You how much sleep do you want to get? So you work it backward in a way and say, what time do I have to start winding down and get ready for bed? You don't wait till 11 o'clock at night after answering all your emails and say, oh God, I'm tired now, but I have to be up in 5 hours.
Now that's actually a great lesson and advice. I've I was listening to another podcast today, and it actually reminded me of that of the when you get up in the morning, like I'm my own worst enemy, I get up in the morning and I have all the best intentions, and then I start negotiating with myself,
Yeah.
right? So, okay, my plan is to get up, get on the treadmill, have some breakfast, but then I get up and like, oh, I need a coffee first, or I start negotiating with myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, planning ahead is a great idea.
Yeah, yeah. So ahead of time what you're going to have to do, and what the temptations might be, perhaps, or and so you can actually make allowances for those.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great. That's great advice. I was actually looking on your website, your beautiful website, and you have there's a free download for our listeners, and I'll put that in the show notes of how to find that. So it's their Glow as You Go travel guide, and that's
Yes.
actually a great way, as you were just mentioning about planning and preparing for travel and staying on sort of on the plan and
Mm-hmm.
on track, I should say,
Yeah.
for your nutrition and health, even when you're traveling. So, can you tell me a little bit more about that travel guide? Because it looks great.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I have someone who's brilliant. She's great. She put all those guides for me together for me, and it's something you can download so you can have it in front of you before you travel. It actually shows you the preparations you need to make. About what to pack. Maybe there's research you can do ahead of time. What healthy snacks you might want to get from Amazon, and you can bring those with you. And then you can also use it when you actually or when you're on the flight. There's certain things. If it's a long flight, stay hydrated. Just keep you mindful. And then when you're actually at your destination, what you can look for. Perhaps some grocery stores. Perhaps do some shopping at the beginning of your trip to get some fresh fruits, so you always have them with you. Because otherwise, when the trip starts getting on, you're going to forget about those things, or you get too
Yes.
excited about the sightseeing
Yeah.
and doing the other stuff. So it's good to do those things at the beginning. And the guide, the travel guide will actually show you, that's a few things you can do, and keep it with you, and just keep reminding yourself how to stay healthy. Because traveling is wonderful, and of course you want to enjoy yourself. But at the same time, you don't want to go away for 2 weeks and then undo all the hard work you've put in with your health practices.
One of my most favorite things when I go to a new country or a new city is to go to the local supermarket and
Yeah,
just walk the aisles and see, like, they have different things, they have some same things, but just seeing what they eat and all the fresh produce and even visiting local markets. So a lot of places in Europe have food halls that they've got all the
yeah,
beautiful produce, and eating in those places is actually just a bonus when you're traveling, I find, because you really
yes.
get the authentic part of the country.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you get fruits that you wouldn't find in your own place. Yeah.
Especially, I remember when I went to Copenhagen 2 years ago in the
Mm,
summertime, and on, almost not every corner, but in a lot of the areas, it's berry season and all the
mm,
beautiful summer fruits and vegetables, and it can also inspire you when you get
yeah,
home to
yeah, yeah.
sort of, oh, I'm going to try cooking with this and that. So with on your website, you do offer one-on-one
Mm-hmm.
health coaching, and I saw that there's a few options on there. So if anyone wants to go onto your website, and do you do in person or is it online as well? You can help people anywhere?
Absolutely. I can help people anywhere. Yes, a lot of my coaching sessions are actually held on Zoom. So we meet, once a week or, whatever actually works with the client. But if they happen to be in town, then, or, if I'm somewhere, I can go and visit them in person. It works very well as well. Because I do supermarket tours, and I actually take them to supermarkets and show them how to read the food labels and do all the shopping and make wise choices when you're actually in a grocery store.
Well, that's a really good service that you offer, because that can be one of the biggest daunting things for people when they're
Yeah,
making these changes is they they're not familiar with these food labels and what things
yeah.
mean and that sort of thing, because I mean there's a whole industry out there that thrive on people not knowing what's in the
Yeah,
food, right?
yeah, exactly. And the packaging and so on can be very misleading.
And they spend, millions of dollars to try and get you to buy that product.
Yeah.
Even the way, even how it's which shelf it's on in the
Mm,
supermarket, right? So
yeah,
those middle shelves, they pay prime position for that.
yeah,
So it's sometimes, looking up, looking down,
yes,
looking around, and
yeah.
is it is it still true that you should stick to the outside aisles of the supermarket, because the center aisles are generally where all the bad stuff could be?
Yes, yes, yeah, absolutely. But I would say, focus on fresh foods, fresh produce. If something's
Yes.
highly processed, then the chances is just not good for you. And when you look at the
Exactly.
food labels, if the ingredient list goes on forever, or it's got a list of items that you can't even pronounce, then you shouldn't be buying it. So I would say pay attention to the food labels. They are there. They are there for to give you information, and that way you can also make comparisons between products.
I was a chef in a health retreat for 2 years, and we had some restrictions on what the sort of ingredients we could use. They were
Mm,
healthy, nutritional, so there was things that we couldn't use. And what I found was using healthy ingredients to make food that's familiar to people. So
mm-hmm.
swapping things out. So, you might, if you wanted to have a hamburger or something, you just like a hamburger, but
Yeah.
using really good quality meat, really good
Mm,
quality ingredients, and maybe some like fresh bread from a bakery
yeah.
and not a processed burger bun.
Mm-hmm.
Just making those sort of swap outs of. And I find when people see food that they're not familiar with,
Yes.
they're going to sort of push back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So, it's always a good way to actually just look, and see what you can have. You know, Having good quality meat, and perhaps, you would say, well, then there's not something I can have very often, but, then that
Hmm.
way, every time you have something, it's quality rather than just quantity.
Yeah, I'm a big believer of quality over quantity.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, as I said, people can go onto your website. They
Yeah.
can also, I'll put the link in our show notes, and I
Thank
also
you.
put the link there for the free Glow as You Go travel guide, which is really cool. I've never seen one before, and I thought that would
Right.
be really handy to have next time I'm traveling.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's easy, you just download it and print it out if you want to, or have it on your phone.
Yeah, have it on your phone. That's even handier.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Tess. You have, sorry, I should say, have opened up my mind to nutrition and eating well, and I am sure our listeners have gained a lot of knowledge for you. So thank you so much for coming.
Well, so thank you again for having me, and I've had a wonderful time. I loved all those questions.
Wonderful. Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.